First module, yeah, first module today we will be discussing about the overview of a grant proposal, and then I'll be sharing some tips how we can make our proposal very effective. And also we will be discussing about specific aim page that is very, very, very important in a research proposal. So that would be today's agenda. Okay. Let me make my screen full screen mode. Okay. Yeah. Before we begin, when we submit any grant proposal, whether it could be a research proposal or any other proposal, we need to make the proposal very impressive. That is going to be the first step, first thing you need to think about. Because all these proposals, irrespective of its nature, if it is going for a funding or award, definitely it is going to be a peer review team. So the reviewers would be able to read, and understand the potential of this proposal, and they need to give supportive comments or positive comments for our proposal. So every time when we start any proposal or any research, we need to have an initial idea or a concept, and that concept we need to explore further, read literature. That's one of the main reason we emphasize in this program to write a review article, because when you look into the literature, you will see what is known, what is unknown, what is the gap in the knowledge, what needs to be done, and how it can be done, or should it be done. Like that, all these questions could be able to identify, and we can develop potential strategies to address those when we do a thorough literature survey. Okay, so start with an initial idea and collaborate with a team. Okay, rather than we doing everything together, based on the complementary expertise, you identify a team, start building some preliminary data, do some pilot work, get some preliminary data that will always support the grant, and then carefully look into the funding opportunity announcement. So what is the actual goal for that funding agency, whether they want to, there could be several approaches. For example, some grants, they will be focusing more into basic science. Some grants would be focusing more into translational side. Something would be more to clinical side. So depending upon the funding opportunity objectives, we need to modulate our grant in such a way that it should fit into the funding opportunity. That means if we have a idea, or if you draft a proposal, it doesn't mean that the same proposal can fly in all funding opportunities. No, definitely we need to modulate our or alter our overall research plans and proposal based on the funding opportunity announcement. So that means the first thing you need to do is, once you have an idea and once you have your team ready and once you have your preliminary data ready, go and read the funding opportunity announcement starting from page 1 till the end. Read everything. Okay, because so many occasions occurs when, for example, the funding opportunity announcement, they mention, okay, one page shouldn't exceed 50 lines. I had a friend who submitted on grant. I think it is a 120-page grant, and in one page, instead of 50 lines, he somehow made 51 lines. So with that, his entire grant got rejected. So likewise means this is very competitive. So they will be trying to pull the applications as many as possible out of the review. So all these things, these are minor things. We need to be very careful while drafting these. Okay. And then once you have a draft ready, try to make it reviewed by as many peers as possible. So send it to your friends, send it to your colleagues whom you trust, and send to your professors or whoever whom you think they will give positive comments. Let them review. Every time it will be always good to see our proposal in a third, fourth, or fifth eye. That means that they will be able to come up with some additional inputs, thoughts, or even they can help us reviewing the language and all those things. Okay. And then uh, try to submit the proposal maybe 1 or 2 days before the final date, because many times the server issues or any sort of internet issues, it could affect our submission. So always be prepared to submit maybe 1 or 2 days before. So these are the general idea. These are the general concepts when you need to take care when you prepare any granting applications. Okay, so this is the workflow. Again, first we need to determine the eligibility. Suppose if we have sufficient data and we are ready to go for a proposal, grant proposal, first you need to check the eligibility of your funding opportunity announcement. So sometimes, there could be some proposal which is exclusively for medical students. Okay, if you are applying for that, you need to see whether you are eligible or not. There could be some opportunities available for undergrads or PhD students. So like that, just see whether you are an ideal apt fit for those funding opportunity. If that's the case, okay, go for that. And there would be several funding opportunity announcement for under your eligibility criteria. Choose the best one. Choose the best one to fit your research along with their mission of funding. For example, if you are looking into something related to heart, you can look into American Heart Association funding opportunity. There you will be the best fit. Okay. And also there will be American Stroke Association. They will be giving some funding as well. If you look into NIH, see whether our area of interest and our expertise match with the funding opportunity, and choose the best one out of that. There are several programs available. If you give your keywords of your interest, it will give those funding opportunity announcements so that you can choose the best one which you are able to fit in. And internal deadlines, that is very important. When you submit any grants through any university always require you to submit all the proposal to the grants office maybe 1 or 2, maybe 2-3 days before the deadline, or maybe even 1 week before the deadline. So they will review each and every criteria. There are several criteria which would be reviewed for scoring. There are several criteria which won't be reviewed for scoring, but it is very important for receiving the funding. For example, if you are putting some animal experiments, you need to show the status of your IUCAC approval. So that will be verified by the university grants office, and also your budget. Okay, you may be proposing so many things, and university finance office will be overseeing those and confirming that okay, everything is in place and right. So these things may take little bit time, so they will be sending back and forth for revision and modification. So always keep the internal deadlines so that we can submit a proposal which is having without any defect. And I would always start with the specific aims, then I will go with research strategy. Specific aim we will discuss today. Specific aim page is usually one-page write-up regarding what you are doing. So that one-page write-up is very critical, because when they write their specific aims, when you write your specific aims, keep that in mind that that is the first document a reviewer is going to read on your proposal regarding your research. So when he or she reads that proposal, you need to give an impression that, hey, this is a very nice proposal. I should support this proposal. So that means that one page is the one driving your proposal. That one page write-up is the one giving a mindset for the reviewer to further review your entire research proposal. So that is very, very, very important. And then editing is again, editing. If we are preparing a proposal, we may read, our eyes may skip many of the typos or grammatical error or any sort of errors. So always advisable for a third or fourth person to read each and everything word by word so that they can do recommendations for spell check, grammar, and other sort of proofreading. So keep these things in mind when you submit any proposal. And also I can give you some expert tips. First of all, make sure your proposal is highly relevant. You need to have a strong confidence on your proposal that, okay, my research is groundbreaking because you are the authority. Nobody knows what your intention is on this research proposal and what your idea is and how you are going to implement. So that means you are the authority and you need to effectively convey that your proposal is very, 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 very relevant to that particular field. And also follow the rules. As I mentioned before, especially the page formatting, page count, length, and fonting, and all those things is very, very important uh, to uh, to impress a reviewer. Okay, and also don't skim onto your specific aims. Specific aims means, for example, if you have a concept, you have some preliminary data. Based on that data, you have a central hypothesis. That means you hypothesize something. And in order to test those hypotheses, you can have sub-hypotheses as well as objectives. So these objectives are called specific aims. Yeah, usually in a standard research proposal, there would be 2 to 4 specific aims. That means the entire concept, you will be dividing that entire study into 3 or 4 different aims. So these specific aims, again, that is very important. You need to carefully divide your work into 2 or 3 aims in such a that it should be complementary, but it shouldn't be overlapping. It shouldn't dependent on each other, but instead it should be complementary. That means, suppose if your aim one fail, your project shouldn't stop there. So even if your aim one fail, okay, you should have interdependent aim 2 that will bypass the failure of aim 1. So like that, you need to articulate your specific aims. And research approach is very, very important. Even if you have a groundbreaking idea, and if we don't know how to prove or how to plan experiments based on that idea, your proposal is not going to fly high. So that means we need to give very thorough emphasis on how we are going to test our hypothesis, how we are planning experiments, what experiments are we going to do we have expertise in all these things? If not, how we are getting additional expertise, whom we are collaborating with, do we have access to their lab facility, their core facility, like that, all these things should be included in that approach session. And always interpret your data. Whenever you put your preliminary data, just interpret. Okay, for example, when I silenced a gene called galactin-1, I identified or I found out that there is a significant increase in cardiomyocyte specific genes in my stem cells. So what does it mean? If I simply write, hey, inhibition of galactin-1 upregulates cardiomyocyte specific genes. Okay, that's the data. But what does it mean? That means that is the interpretation. So it means that, okay, galectin 1 has some relationship with cardiac regeneration because it is concomitantly increasing or decreasing the cardiomyocyte specific genes. So likewise, you need to give the story. It should be like a story. So give that storyline without any interruption so that the reviewer should be able to read and comment on your proposal. Another important thing, very key thing. So your audience for your grant application is a peer review group. Usually in NIH or standard centralized research facility, there will be three reviewers reviewing your proposal. Okay, reviewer number 1, 2, and 3. Okay, these three people determine whether our grant is eligible for funding or not. Okay, these three people, they don't know each other. They will be reviewing it independently, and then there will be a committee. These three reviewers, if they will be putting a preliminary score, and there will be a cutoff for the score. For example, out of 40, they may think, okay, whoever get up to 15 can be discussed. Others, they will be triaged. Okay, so when it comes for discussion, these three reviewers will be speaking. They are the advocate for your proposal. They will be speaking about your proposal in a committee of maybe 40 to 50 experts. Okay, they will be talking about your strengths, your weakness, and if you are able to convince these three people, definitely their responsibility is to advocate for your proposal in the committee. So when you write the proposal, always think in a peer review perspective. Always be very critical. Okay, see how you, if you get this proposal, how you reject it. That could be your first approach. Once you complete your draft and read as if you are the reviewer and try to find out the loopholes to reject it. You yourself will be knowing your limitations. Okay. So then if you find those limitations, you can simply include those limitations, express those limitations in your grant, and add some alternative strategies to avoid those limitations if you encounter those during the course of the grant. So in that way, okay, again, whatever reviewer was supposed to think, you will be thinking those things in advance and you will be giving a response in your proposal itself. So that is very, very important. In that way, you can impress your reviewer. And also, again, if the grant went for discussion in the sense, if it is in a good score, the committee is taking it for discussing, definitely other people will also read. So that means, our grant shouldn't be too much experimental or too much technical. Instead, whoever should be with a basic understanding of the basic fundamental science should be able to follow. So it should be light, at the same time, it should be very detailed also, so that everyone who reads should be able to understand the concept, understand the methods, and understand the methodology and why you choose those methodology in your approach session. Okay. And there are opportunities available for you to consult with the experts. Okay, you can even check with the funding agency before your submission and check with the program officer, show your specific aim page and see whether you should be able to get some feedbacks. Definitely there will be, those people are there to help us. So when you write the proposal, you can contact the program officer and get some feedback and make sure this is in alignment with the funding opportunity announcement. Okay, again, very important to know the audience. Okay, always give the message, an indirect message to the reviewers that why the agency should fund you. Okay, and why should they give you best score, and how this topic is very of high impact and worth pursuing. These questions should be indirectly answered in your proposal. Okay, every time when somebody read, okay, why should I fund this? Why should I support this grant? Because, okay, this is very relevant. This is very feasible. And they have expertise. They have strong fundamental data. Their hypothesis is valid. So all these answers should should satisfy the questions which the reviewer asks to support your grant. Okay, and these are the fundamental things. How strong the proposal is, and whether your approach is logical and innovative. Innovative means it should be something unique which nobody has ever tried, and whether you have the environment to do the experiments, and if it is complete the proposal if it is funded, and whether you have expertise, whether you have collaborations, and whether the money which is being funded for your proposal is worthy to be funded. So that is very important. So every dollar amount which we request from the grant should satisfy the mission of funding agency. So that is very, very important. And then to focus on reviewers' attention on the fact that the best make the proposal. So always try to do the best. Okay, and seek extra help from other resources as well. And don't try to write too much. Just give only those things which is very, very relevant. So when I write any proposal, what I do, once I write every sentence, I will read 3, 4 times and remove the unwanted words without altering the meaning. So that means there is no point in giving too much information, but give those information which is highly relevant in a very legitimate fashion. Okay, and then always, when you write proposal, keep this in mind that I need to help my reviewer to support me. Okay, so I need to help the reviewer to support me. That means always think in a reviewer's perspective. Because as I mentioned, for our research, we are the authority. We know everything. We know the pain, we know the failures, we have the lessons. But as a third person who review your proposal, he or she doesn't know anything about this. Instead, they will be having some foundational knowledge. Okay, so always help the reviewer to give you better score. Okay, that is very, very important. And then you can again highlight the significant portion. You can highlight the key points. So in that way, you can always take the impression of your reviewer. Okay. Another important avenue is novelty. Okay, how our proposal is novel, how our proposal is unique. That means we need to identify the gaps in the literature based on our preliminary experiments. We need to tell, hey, even though these things are done, this portion remain unattended. So that means if we intervene like that, it can transform or it can tremendously benefit the field of this particular research. So that is again very, very, very critical when you write your research proposal. And also give and emphasize that, okay, our research can change the field, can create an impact in the field. And also, even if we have a very novel concept, our idea is unique, the study is novelty. If we don't know how to do this, the grant is not going to fly. So specifically mention, clearly and vividly mention how you are going to conduct this research, what experiments you do, and what is the rationale for choosing each experiment, and how these experiments and data will be interpreted. Okay, if you have your own resources, mention that. If you don't have, collaborate with someone who has those expertise and resources, and then get them into the loop and mention, okay, these experiments will be performed in collaboration with so and so lab. So in that way, okay, reviewer will understand, okay, yeah, he has those collaborative efforts to conduct or to perform this project in a successful manner. Okay. And then when you look into any proposals, these are the major components. There will be a lay abstract. There will be an abstract, specific aim pages, one page specific aims, and then research strategy, which includes significance, innovation, and approach. And specific aims and research strategy are the major scoring criteria. And then there will be a session for environment. There will be a session for the facilities and resources which we have, and definitely budget and justification and others. So lay abstract, we discussed yesterday when we talk about ICAC. So lay abstract means it should be a non-scientific paragraph which signifies the importance of this research and what changes or what benefit you are going to make out of this study. And abstract is, say, comprehensive overview of your study. And then specific aims, again, that specific aim, usually there will be one page specific aim that will give an overview and a comprehensive strategy of your entire research. Okay. And then research strategy, we can split into significance, innovation, and approach. Okay, let's start with the specific aims. Okay, specific aims, the overall goal for this specific aim is to provide a concise overview of the proposal goals and how they will be achieved. Okay, for example, if you read a short story, which has maybe 20 pages. And if I ask you to comprehend that story into one page, so that's what specific aim page. So that is the overview of the entire story which you are planning to propose, or the entire experiments or entire research which we are going to propose in a very comprehensive, precise, as well as effective manner. Okay. And this will help the reviewers to assess the potential impact and merit of your research. Okay. It should be concrete, measurable, with achievable objectives. Okay. So those objectives should be achievable within the short time frame and the budget amount which the funding agency is giving. And always give emphasis on scientific rigor. Scientific rigor means what have been done and how extensively the research is being ongoing in that phase, as well as what are the gap in the knowledge. Emphasize the gap in the knowledge. So we need to have that session there. So when you write your intro background, bring from an overview in a broader umbrella, narrow down to the problem, and then identify the knowledge gap in the knowledge, what needs to be done, and what are the benefits if we address those gaps. And based on that, you define your research question or hypothesis. Hypothesis, you can have multiple hypotheses. It will be always to have a central hypothesis and sub hypothesis. And then provide a detailed roadmap of how you are going to achieve all these research questions, how you are going to test your research hypothesis. Yeah, so the overall goal here is to excite your reviewers within one page write-up. So that is very, very important. Yeah, when a reviewer start reviewing your proposal, the first thing they are going to read and understand is your specific aims. So specific aim is a determining factor for the reviewer, or the specific aims will be the one which gives impression for your reviewer to go for in order to provide supportive comments for your grant. So this is very critical. Always keep in mind, okay, this is the start point where reviewers start with your proposal. Okay. And as I mentioned, how to identify the gap. Okay, read the literature and see whether which all areas the scientific community is trying to mend the gap or trying to achieve. There you will get the knowledge gap. And then see whether your research can move the field forward. In other words, whether you will be able to meet the unmet strategies or whether you are able to mend those gaps. Okay, clearly determine the significance of the problem. Yeah, clearly emphasize, okay, why this problem is so important and how this issue can impact the overall field. Very, very, very important. Then ask, is the proposed work important? Okay, whether this is important or not, whether somebody else has already tried and whether there is any simple strategy available, or whether someone has already solved this issue. So likewise, just see whether it is important or not. Again, whether it is going to make a difference in the field of our understanding. The difference could be in end effect like patient care. Difference could be in developing or discovering something, or it could be improving the fundamental knowledge, the basic knowledge. So in any ways, whether it can make any difference. Are you able to do this? Very important is, do you have sufficient expertise, resources, and mentorship for doing or for carrying out all these proposed research work? And the additional criteria would be, every time the reviewers are instructed to ask these questions. Should it be done? Can it be done? So every time when we go for a reviewer training and everything, they will orient us to ask these two questions. Should it be done? That means whether is there any relevance in doing this? Can it be done? Okay, whether the PI, the researcher, would be able to achieve these proposed experiments. So these two questions you need to definitely ask before you write your specific aim page. Okay, when you look into the specific aim page, step one is to define and determine your hypothesis. Okay, how from a broader knowledge umbrella bring down to a specific problem based on your expertise as well as foundational data. Just put forward your hypothesis. And based on your hypothesis, you can come up with 2 or 3 specific aims. Okay, maybe even if it could be 4 also. So fundamentally 2 to 3 on average, 3 specific aims would be ideal for a proposal. Okay. And in step 2, step 1, you will be defining your hypothesis. In step 2, you need to define how you are going to test your hypothesis based on objectives and sub-objectives. Okay. And each sub-aim you proposed needs to be assessed by the reviewers. Okay. as I mentioned, avoid interdependent aims. Try to make independent aims. However, it should be complementary. Okay. We need to outline the experiments, and if possible, if you have enough space, just add one sentence regarding the expected outcomes. Okay, what outcomes you are going to expect based on these aims. Okay, definitely funding feasibility could be defined through your preliminary data, your collaborative efforts, as well as publication. Okay, definitely if you have any key publications related to this topic, just cite those in the specific aim so that the reviewer should be able to go and read your article so that he will generate an impression that this project is feasible and they will support it. Okay. And then when we outline our specific aim, we need to have a narrative describing the rationale. So why we are going to do this? What is the purpose of doing this? Based on, it could be based on literature as well as the preliminary data which we generated. And what is the significance of this research? How this is going to be very important for this particular field? And then definitely we need to state our hypothesis and briefly describe our aims. And we need to build the scientific rigor. That means what has already been done and what extensively the research has already been taken and how our study make a difference. Okay, that could be from our preliminary data as well as published literature. And then maybe in the last 1 or 2 lines, you can summarize your research and how impact it is going to be providing for our research community. Okay, and the major contents to be included. If you use any specific technology, definitely you need to go for it. You need to project it. Okay, the collaborators and their task. Okay, for example, if I am doing some sort of single cell genomics, I'll be collaborating with someone in CHLA. I need to mention whenever I mention this experiment, I need to mention, okay, these experiments will be performed in collaboration with so and so, and he will be doing so and so, like that. Okay. So clearly mention that and describe the past accomplishments related to the project. So, for example, if you had a project before and you were successful in developing some sort of therapies or strategies or technologies, just mention that. That will give credibility for your scientific research. And then describe and interpret your preliminary findings and emphasize how this is highly relevant to the field. Okay, and then even though our specific aims, this is very tricky, our specific aims should be independent. At the same time, it should be related to each other, complementary to each other. So always try to bring, because otherwise reviewers will think, okay, if aim 1 fails, the entire project fails. So don't give an impression that, okay, if aim 1 fails, through aim 2, we can achieve whatever we are intended to achieve in aim 1. So that is again very critical. Okay, so let's see how we can articulate a hypothesis. Okay, as I mentioned, hypothesis, maybe you can have a central hypothesis for the entire application, or you can have multiple hypotheses for each aims. But it's always to have a central concept or central hypothesis, which can be split into sub hypotheses or themes based on your specific aim. Okay, following a central hypothesis always keeps you on focus for writing the proposal. So we need, for example, we think there is a population of stem cells which can accelerate cardiac healing. Okay, from my own example. So that is my central hypothesis. I will say, okay, my cell type is associated with cardiac healing, and if we use this, it can be beneficial for heart, whatever hypothesis I made. And in my first aim, I will be having a sub hypothesis telling that, okay, these cells express cardiomyocyte specific genes. And second specific aim, I'll have another sub hypothesis telling that, okay, these cells can differentiate into cardiomyocytes and start beating. And my third hypothesis, okay, these cells can be incorporated into some hydrogel matrix, which can deliver and sustain the cells within the heart. So like that, we can put sub hypothesis based on our specific aims. Okay. And always keep this in mind that whatever hypothesis we are proposing, it should be testable. We need to have sufficient resources and expertise, and our experiment should be feasible to test these hypotheses. And again, keep on revising, keep on assessing your proposal in a reviewer's standpoint. That is, again, very, very important. Okay, then additional tips include you can emphasize your, if you want to bring attention of your reviewers for some critical findings or some critical points, you can bold it, italic it, or somehow you can project it. And always use strong verbs like identify, define, quantify, establish, determine, like that. Okay. Aim one, determine the regenerative potential of so and so. And otherwise, quantify the population of stem cells which can differentiate into cardiomyocytes. Like that, use those type of wordings that will give more emphasis on your research aims. Okay. In the specific aim page, describe each aim in 1 or 3 sentences. Okay, 1 to 3 sentence. Don't write too much over there because we have only 1 page limit. Okay. You can consider adding numbers or bullet points to define your objectives. All these things will draw attention of your reviewer. And try to include expected outcome for each aim if you have enough space. So that will again give confidence to the reviewer that, okay, if these experiments are successful, they are going to achieve this. And those results, always emphasize that those results would be groundbreaking for the field of our interest. And then explain the interpretation of the data. If you have any data or if you generate any data, always give interpretation, telling that, okay, if we get this would be the outcome. Very, very, very important thing, address the potential pitfalls. What if you fail? What are the alternative strategy? So this is just a proposal, right? These are not experiments. So until and unless we do these experiments, then only we will see whether this is successful or not. So the chances for failing the experiments, you need to anticipate earlier. You need to plan ahead of time, reveal those possible pitfalls, and then give some alternative plans. If you encounter this type of pitfall or this challenge, how you are going to address it. Okay. That is, and also, if you have space, add a closing paragraph emphasizing the significance of your work. Okay, so that means in 1 page, you are giving the trailer for your story. So that will add curiosity for the reviewer to read your entire proposal. Okay, then always ask these questions. Would the reviewer see the proposed project as tackling an important problem in the field? Okay, that means you need to emphasize your significance. And if you want to project that your findings will give some discoveries, give that so that reviewer will understand, okay, if the research is successful, they will be ending up in a new discovery. Okay. Always, reviewers will always ask this question, how this work is novel and unique. Emphasize that, okay, our proposal is unique in these aspects. Okay, so then when those reviewers check those comments in the internet, there shouldn't be any information available. So keep that in mind. And also they would like to ask uh, whether the specific aims are likely to exert a significant influence in the research. Okay, if our proposal is successful, whether it is going to change or impact the field. And above all, they should be able to clearly and specifically understand our proposal, our idea, our concept, our results, everything. It should be understandable for a third person. Keep those things in mind. And also, you can give an illustration. For example, within one page, you can give a pictorial representation of your experiments which you are focusing on. So it is not required. It takes some time as well as some space. But if you can give that, that will be very, very helpful for the reviewer to understand. So this is an example which I put in one of my grants. So we have a pig model. We developed infarction. We isolated left ventricular stem cells. We sorted based on galectin-1 expression. And then those cells, we expect those cells are regenerative. And then from there, we look into mitochondrial dynamics. We use seahorse assay. So that means they will come to know. And then we develop a hydrogel. We make all these hydrogel, everything together, along with the cells together and inject to the pig heart using video assisted thoracostomy. So when the reviewer look into this image, he will get a foundational idea that, okay, these are the experiments, these are the overall approach this proposal is going through. So that will help him to set up a mindset to start reviewing your proposal. So if possible, that is doable. And these are the two examples I put from NIH website. If you want, you can go through it. See, yeah, this is very small one-page write-up. They come up with their from my background, broader background, identified the problem. Then they come up with their objective and hypothesis. They proposed 3 specific aims, and they had a very nice illustration, self-explanatory illustration show to show how the research is going on, planning to do, and they have a overview or a summary with 2-3 sentences telling how it is impacting the overall field. Similarly, I put another example also. Okay, that's all about a specific aim page. So let's think about an assignment. Okay, prepare a specific aim page based on any project of your interest, or to make the to save the time, you can even work on the same proposal which you submitted for this program. Just write one-page writer. So I'm giving you some guidelines, okay? I made it, okay, it should be different from your summer research, but that's okay. You can make it from your summer research as well. It shouldn't exceed 1 page. The overall, it should be 1 page. The font size would be Arial 11, line space 1, narrow margin. Okay. And then maybe you can include 2 or 3 aims, or if you don't have that much time, maybe 1 aim should be fine. But 2 to 3 is ideal. And send it to me. I will review based on the significance, innovation, feasibility, and your team. So it could be, you can make it a little bit, out of the box, telling that you will be collaborating with someone from UCLA or UCR, or just you can make your own story. The overall idea here is to understand the importance of specific aim page and to give you an emphasis or an exercise to articulate one page writing. Okay. So that is, and with that, we can wind up for the day. Okay, any questions? Okay, when do you think you can submit this one page write-up?
Dr. Thangam, I have a question
Uh-huh.
on our behalf. So, us second years going into third year, we have our boards in about
Mhm.
8 days.
Mhm.
I was wondering if maybe we could have an extension or something, just because our boards are in like a week.
Oh, okay, okay. So when is your board?
Our boards are July 10th.
July 10th. Okay.
Yes, so in 8 days.
Okay. So how about uh, July 15th?
That should be fine.
Okay, okay. So
Thank
how
you.
about others? Whoever has time, not appearing for the board.
Thank you, Dr. Thangam.
No worries, no worries. You guys also want to go with the same deadline or?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because we're kind of busy with just all the research. So
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so we will aim for July 15th. Okay.
Thank you
And
so much.
yeah, Natalie, can you send a email for all of them to submit one page specific aim by July 15th? You can submit earlier also. That will be helpful for me.
yeah,
And
I'll
there
send
will
the
be
email
a
out.
review session. I think that is scheduled on 29th of July. At that time, I can give you some feedback to improve your writing skill. Yeah, yeah. Don't stress too much. Consider this as a learning exercise. Okay, definitely these type of exercise will be uh, helping you to build your career. When you get into your profession, you need to be unique. Okay, so you need to be standalone. So always keep these type of additional benefits, additional expertise, additional training as a fuel for your future career. That will always help. Yeah. Yeah. Any questions? No. Yeah. Yeah. If any time, any concerns, any questions, any additional explanation required, feel free to contact me. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Bye.
Thank you.